B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'nasliach. Welcome everybody to our shiur tonight on Hilchot Pessah Tafshin Pei Hey 5785 2025. Pesach this year. First of all, thank you so much everyone for being here, and mainly thank you to our hosts, the Salahani family, for opening the doors to us. May your sha'arim, your gates of your home, always be open to smachot, to happy occasions, and good things always. And chesed, most of all, should always be open to chesed. And as alav v'shalom, my father used to say, may you always be on the giving end and never on the receiving end. Amen. By the way, the shiur tonight is open for sponsorship. If anybody wants to sponsor it, Leilu Nishmat somebody or anything like that, you can let me know afterwards. What was it? I think John Solomon. What was the name you gave me last time? Leilu Nishmat. You gave me
Nisan ben Mashiach.
Nisan ben Mashiach. And Menashe ben Salman Saleh. Leilu Nishmatam v'gam Ella bat Rachel, Aharon ben Avraham. Oh, Leilu Nishmatam. For Refuah Shlema. Lahavdil for Refuah Shlema of Chaya Rachel bat Penina. All right. So, Refuah Shlema of Efrat Kelly bat Tamir and Tamira and Esther Bracha bat Chaya. B'toch sha'ar kol chole am Yisrael. Okay, so now this year's Pesach is a little bit different. We had it a few years back, but we have another chance to have Pesach this year the same way. What I mean is Pesach this year falls on Motzai Shabbat. So that makes things a little bit challenging. It makes things a little different. So there's a lot of halachot that pertain to a Motzai Shabbat Pesach. There's things that we need to know. Preparations from beforehand. How do you do those preparations? When do you do and what do you do when? So first section of our halacha, tonight I'm going to discuss those laws. The laws that pertain to a year that Pesach falls on Motzai Shabbat. They're very important. They're not difficult. It's just important to know because chas v'shalom, many people could make mistakes because of this, because they just, regular year, you do it one way, preparing for Pesach, getting Biur Chametz for Pesach. This year, there's things that you have to do even earlier, and you might not know how to do those things. So, number one, Erev Pesach shechal yod Shabbat. Erev Pesach that falls on Shabbat, meaning your Erev Pesach is on Saturday, which is this year, April 12th. Erev Pesach is April 12th on Saturday, on Shabbat. So now, when do we do Bedikat Chametz? One of the first mitzvot of Pesach that starts before Pesach is the Bedika process, checking for Chametz, which is a great mitzvah for the man of the house, and especially if they have boys and little girls. It's a great way to get together. You hold a candle, not a torch, a candle, and you go around the house searching for Chametz. The way my father alav v'shalom used to do with me, and we have a minhag in our family, and Sephardic Jews have this minhag, even Ashkenazim, many of them do, is that you take 10 pieces of chametz, like a pita bread, very little tiny pieces, you wrap them in tin foil, make it big tin foil so you can see them, and you give it to the kids to go hide around the house. And you have one of them write down where they're going to hide it, because you don't want to actually not be able to find it, right? So you take a note, and father makes the bracha of Bedikat Chametz, which is in the Haggadot in the first pages. He makes a bracha and he starts searching for Chametz all over the house, behind, underneath the chairs, and you move the couch, and around the closet. Wherever Chametz could have gone, you check with a candle until you find those 10 pieces on your way. Right? It's a segula to have those 10 pieces as well. That's the mitzvah of Bedikat Chametz, and it has its own beracha. It has a bracha of Bedikat Chametz, which you will see. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiteshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al biur chametz. This is the bracha of me doing the mitzvah of getting rid of chametz. One of the mitzvot in the Torah of Pesach is the mitzvah of getting rid of chametz. Some people have asked, and I mean, it's normal, quite naturally. Why are we burning bread the whole year? We're respectful to bread. You know, there's halachot that are involved with bread. You shouldn't sit on bread. You shouldn't put things on top of bread. Lechem is bracha min hashamayim. We can't be disrespectful to food, especially lechem, especially bread. Comes to Pesach, we burn it. Why do we do that? The only answer I could think of is quite simple. The reason why we have such respect for lechem, bread, is because the Torah tells us to. You know, it's a bracha min hashamayim. You shouldn't be disrespectful to it. The same Torah that tells us to have that kind of respect for bread tells us that when it comes to Pesach, Yivaru, you need to get rid of it, destroy the chametz. You shouldn't have it. So I'm just listening to the Torah, right? In the past, it used to be they would say, like in some places, in order, like a year like this, if you had chametz on Shabbat, let's say, still in your home, by like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 10, we'll see the time as well. You need to get rid of it. So they would say, if you had chametz still in your home on Shabbat, flush it down the toilet. Why? Obviously, it's degrading, but flushing bread down the toilet erev Pesach is not as bad as the severe punishment of karet, of having chametz in your household. So which one is it? Karet is like eating on Yom Kippur. It's a very severe thing. Why did they, I remember I was where I was and stuff, why did the Chachamim at that time, the rabbis in that community say, you need to flush it down the toilet? Because the way the system in that city worked was, even if you put it in your trash cans outside, you still owned it. And the trash pickup wasn't until the next week. Therefore, even if you, on that Saturday, you would put all your pitas in a trash can outside, it's still on your land, you still owned it. So they're like, you're not really getting rid of chametz. So technically when Pesach comes in, you still own chametz. It's still yours. Therefore, in that situation, they said, flush it so that it goes through the tubes. It's going to go through the water and go to the ocean. Here, what we're going to discuss tonight, you'll see that if you go by the instructions of halakha that we'll discuss tonight, you won't have that issue. All right? Especially for Persian Jews, I know, Sephardi Jews, when it comes to bread, I remember we had a friend of the family. I mean, that year I was in yeshiva and we had to flush the bread. How much bread was it? It was and you can't flush big pieces. You have to make it into tiny pieces because big pieces is more disrespectful. If you make it tiny pieces, it's not. So like we tried everything you had to do. I remember we had a friend of the family. She lost it on us. Right? She was so upset. How dare you do this? You call yourselves learning people. You go in Torah and you're getting rid of bread. I understand. I totally understood her. But when it comes to weighing out what's worse, sometimes halakha says, this is what you need to do in order not to have a more severe chas v'shalom punishment. Now we'll discuss what we need to do this year and you'll see, we're not even going to get there. Okay, so when do we do Bedikat Chametz this year? Usually Bedikat Chametz is when? The night before Erev Pesach. So let's say Pesach would be, Seder night would be on Monday night. Bedikat Chametz is on Sunday night. This year, you can't do that because Friday night is Shabbat. How are you going to hold a candle and go around the house looking for Chametz? Therefore, it comes to Thursday night. Bedikat Chametz this year will be Be'ezrat Hashem on Thursday night before, like 2 days before Pesach, technically. So Thursday night, you get a candle, you go around the house and look for your chametz. That chametz that you find, whatever you have, you keep in a bag, separate. The next day, the mitzvah is Biur Chametz, which is the burning of chametz, which they have, the fire department here in LA arranges it. There's different synagogues that have a big, last year was by Eula Girls School, the year before was by Eula Girls School on Robertson. They have a whole big thing with the fire department involved. People bring their little baggies of little chametz that they found and they throw it in there and they say a pasuk. They say like a declaration that I have done as I was commanded. I got rid of the chametz from my home. Whatever chametz that I didn't see, whatever chametz that I didn't find should be ownerless. I don't own it. I don't know about it. And that's the mitzvah of Biur Chametz. It's a very important mitzvah, must be done. Yes, so there's a special segulat that they say. If you have your lulav from the previous year, you keep it and you burn it in that same fire. Incidentally, why? They say because you did a mitzvah with it 6 months ago, don't just throw it away, do another mitzvah with it. What's the mitzvah? The fire of burning of chametz is mitzvah itself. You're doing a mitzvah, so now do a second mitzvah with your lulav. Add to the fire that people are burning the chametz with, and it's a special segula. We're gonna do all of that. So when Erev Pesach falls on Shabbat, there are poskim that say that bechorot are still obligated to fast, even though it's like a pushed off fast. Why? Because usually the fast of Tanit Bechorot is on the eve of Pesach. This year the eve of Pesach is Shabbat. You can't fast on Shabbat, especially this fast, because it's just a minhag. It's not like brought down in halacha, it's just a custom, the fast of the Bechorot. Therefore, they say if it's postponed, the Shulchan Aruch says, one of the opinions is, if it's postponed, you don't have to fast. Altogether, don't worry about it. However, in our modern times, most people don't fast anyway. We go to a siyum of a Gemara or some kind of a siyum for a mitzvah where they have a seudah, and we open our fast during breakfast, right? So Chachamim say, why not? If you have a siyum to go to, okay, so morning, don't have your morning coffee, go to your siyum and open it over there. So you're basically two birds with one stone, right? You're doing the halachically correct thing according to all opinions. So when is Tanit Bechorot? Also Thursday. Why? Because once it's postponed from Shabbat, you're not going to do it on Friday either, because that's Erev Shabbat. We don't want to have a fast on the eve of Shabbat either. So it comes all the way to Thursday. So Thursday this year would be the day for Tanit Bechorot. So now, this year specifically, if someone is totally incapable of finding a siyum or going to a siyum of a Gemara or Masechet or a Seudah like that, it's not possible for them, and they're going to be weak for the Seudah so they have what to rely on not to fast at all. Other years, if they couldn't find a siyum or something like that, they would have to fast all the way to the Seudah of Seder night, the food. But this year, because it's already postponed, and the Shulchan Aruch says you don't have to fast altogether. There's only other opinions that say they should. Then you could rely on the Shulchan Aruch and say, you know what? I couldn't find the siyum. Ladies, I think Persian ladies do have a minhag that the Bechor fasts. Am I correct? Yes, they do. So there are kehilot, there are communities that ladies also do the fast of Bechorot. Technically speaking, the ladies are not obligated for the fast of Tanit Bechorot, only the men. But there are communities that do, like the Persian communities. Therefore, you could still keep that minhag, but this year for sure, you don't have to worry about it. If you don't find the siyum, if you can't find, don't worry about it. You have a lot to rely on not to fast this year. Don't drive yourselves crazy or your husbands crazy. And, just cook that good food. Just concentrate on that good food. Why do you think we have holidays? Food. It's all about food. No. Wives we have because they direct us and we love them. They're amazing. They do everything for us. Yes? And then food is a big plus. Okay, so now. Technically speaking, even though Friday, you're allowed to eat chametz the whole day, because it's Friday. It's like the day before Erev Shabbat. Mikol makom tov leva'er chametz be'erev Shabbat b'sha'ah chamishit. It's good to do your Biur Chametz on Friday, which is probably going to be what they're going to do this year. The chametz that you found on Thursday night, you're going to burn it and get rid of all of your chametz by Friday already. Even though Friday you could still be eating chametz, and technically you can still eat chametz, but whatever chametz that you're not going to eat for the day, just get rid of it. Just get rid of it so you don't risk it. Now, to go into what to do, one second. All right, let me just talk one thing a little bit out of order. Okay. So now, for the Pesach Seder night, okay, we have what we use for Maror for the Seder night is what? What do we use for Maror? Bitter herbs, which is what? No. Lettuce. Lettuce is what most people use for the bitter herb, okay, for Maror. That's lettuce. Now, it's very, very important to know. When we want to do the mitzvot, we have to make sure that we do the mitzvot and make sure that they're actually going to end up to be mitzvot. What do I mean? Right? In Persian, they used to say, "Umadi savab koni, kabab shudi." Right? So you don't want to in line for making a mitzvah, doing a mitzvah, chas v'shalom, do the exact opposite and do an avera. The chasas, the lettuce. I went Israeli all of a sudden. The lettuce that we have, lettuce is known to be infested with bugs, right? So it needs to be washed, and each one needs to be checked. Why? Quite simple. I'll lay it out very simply for all those salad-loving Jews. Eating one bug is worse than eating 5 portions of pork, according to the Torah, right? If a person eats a kazayit of pork, chas v'shalom, kazayit. This, by the way, is a kazayit. Okay. If a person eats this much pork, chalila, they get 1 set of lashes. According to the Torah, in the time of the Beit HaMikdash, they would get 1 set of lashes for that if they did it on purpose. If a person eats 1 bug, don't matter what size, it's 5 different sets. That's how the Torah sees bugs and infestation. It's worse than pork. Therefore, now you know what you're paying for in kosher restaurants. It's not the meat. It's the salad. It really is. It's the mashkiach back there. And if you go, you'll see. They have these lights and they put all the vegetables on top of lights and they spend hours there washing all these vegetables. So when you're thinking to yourself, why is the salad so expensive? It's because it takes a long time for the salads to be prepared because it's a lot of checking. So there's different soaps that you can use. You put the lettuce in water with the soap and you wash it. It becomes very slippery. So that as any bugs, they kind of slip off. And then you wash them thoroughly with water with like the spray. And then you take each one and you check it in the light. It shouldn't take much because once you wash it very thoroughly, the bugs tend to slip off. And you just get rid of the water and you check them, you clean them. And at the table also, you can tell everybody like we do every year. At the table, my wife says, I take no responsibility for the lettuce. I'm tired. I've checked everything, washed it. Everyone, please wash before you eat it. So everyone, please check before you eat it. So we just, at the table, we look at it, make sure there's no bugs or anything on it, and that's it, right? Wash it 3 times. Yes, 3 times, yes. You should wash it 3 times. But again, even if you wash it 10 times, you don't check it well. I mean, why am I telling you this? It's because this year, you have to do all of that early. The washing and stuff, you can't do that Erev Shabbat. You can't be checking your lettuce on Shabbat. Because you can't be washing them on Shabbat, getting rid of bugs. Killing bugs and stuff is asur on Shabbat. You can't kill bugs. So you need to make sure you're getting your lettuce ready from Thursday or Friday morning so that it's already ready, set aside for the Seder. These are the things that you need to know from beforehand. So you don't come, oh my gosh, on Shabbat, you don't go, oh, I didn't wash the lettuce. Let me wash the lettuce. You're going to have a problem. You can't wash because we know there's bugs in there. And you start washing them, you're going to have issues. So make sure you wash them beforehand. Okay. Now, what do we do this year on Shabbat? Here's the big kicker, right? So we have Friday night and Shabbat, which we're supposed to have dinner and lunch. for Shabbat. Kiddush, regular Shabbat. Usually we have, for the regular Shabbat, we have challah, we have our Kiddush, and we eat our choresh, or whatever it is. This year, what is the correct way to go about it? Because once it comes to Shabbat morning at 10:18 a.m., you cannot eat any more chametz. By 11:36 a.m., you have to have gotten rid of all the chametz in your home. So how are you going to do the meals of Shabbat if you can't eat chametz? You can't eat bread. So there's two options. One is, I believe you got to be James Bond to do it like this. You know, it's very risky, very risky. You know, it's like, who's that guy? You know, go ahead, make my day. Who's that guy? He said Zohan. Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood. Zohan. You know, it's very risky. So option one that I'm going to tell you is very risky. I don't know, like, have bread Friday night, right? But have like bread that doesn't crumble up, like pita, in one small corner. Make sure it doesn't touch your utensils. Make sure it doesn't, and then put it aside. And then Shabbat morning, you have to pray very, very early. Like go to nets, because by 10 o'clock, you can't have any more chametz. Okay, you do you. I'm going to give the option that to me makes more sense to do.
Come to your dinner.
Gabby, what did I say? What did I say? So the dinner is the week before, Gabby. Oh, it's registering. Okay.
So no challah.
So I'm going to tell you what to do.
Egg matzah.
No. Can I do it now? The number two, Gabby number two. So here's the thing. Here's how you do it. So, first of all, I'll start from the beginning. On Friday already, bring out all your Pesach utensils, everything. Your house should be ready for everything Pesach. Kasher le Pesach, it's that type of moment when your husband drinks water and you want to kill him because it's chametz to you, right? That happens in every home. What are you touching that cup? You touched the cup? Did you have it? Why did you touch that cup? We all go through it, you know. My rabbi in Israel, when we were learning the laws of kashrut and all that stuff, like with milk and meat and mixing and not mixing and stuff like that, before he even taught us, he said, I want you to know something. In your own home, no matter how knowledgeable you are, according to your wife, you're a goy. He said, that's how it always is. The wives are always like, oh, why did you put this here? Why did you do that? That's chametz. What are you doing? And because they work hard. Husbands are like, oh, don't worry, it's okay. I eat it. I'm like that. So here's how you do it. Bring all your Pesach utensils out. Cook all your food, kasher le Pesach. Nothing chametz. So Friday, it's as if you're already starting Pesach. Everything is kasher le Pesach. What do you do with bread? Okay, you can't have bread. You're not going to do it with bread. But you have one problem. Friday night, this is technically al pi halacha, is not a problem. You could have matzah on Friday night. However, it's best not to do that because we don't have, already 24 hours before, you got to kind of gauge it. It's not possible. It's asur to have matzah on Erev Pesach because you want the taste of matzah to be fresh in your mouth. So Friday night, some people do, some people don't. It's best not to. So how do you do it? What you do is you can cook or fry matzah. Take these square matzahs. Okay, what I did, I think it was 3 years ago or 4 years ago when we had the last Motzai Shabbat one. What I did was I made egg batter and I dipped these matzah squares in egg batter and I had a big frying pan, kasher le Pesach frying pan, and I fried the matzah in that frying pan. According to halacha, once you cook matzah again, it loses its status of the taste of matzah, which you're not allowed to have on Erev Pesach because you want to have your first taste of matzah at the Seder. And it still retains its bracha as hamotzi. So you bring those to the table. It's kasher Pesach. It's not matzah, but it is matzah, right? And have that. Therefore, women don't have to lose their, they can't, they don't have to go crazy about the fact that they have chametz, they have to clean again on Shabbat. Everything should be clean from before. Just use the cooked or fried matzah for your meals, and you don't have to bring a lot. Bring as much as whoever needs to make hamotzi, and have the kazait amount that they're supposed to have for the meals of Shabbat, and that's it. You're in the clear, so that when Pesach actually starts, your cleaning already was done Thursday, Wednesday, whatever. You brought everything out already, kasher Pesach. You don't have to deal with, what do I do with the chametz that's left over now? You got rid of your chametz on Thursday night. Friday morning, it was done. Shabbat came in, everything was kasher Pesach. It is the best way to do it, and it gives you a peace of mind. You don't have to be flushing anything down the toilet on Shabbat itself because you were left with some chametz in your home and you don't know how to get rid of it from your property. You know what I'm saying? That's what happens. Because on Shabbat, if you still have chametz in the morning, you got to get rid of it, meaning get it off your property where it's not your own, right? You can't throw it in your trash can in the yard. That belongs to you.
Can you take it to
right? So you could, if there's an eruv, you could take the bread to like maybe a trash can, maybe public in the street trash can or something like that. But that's driving yourself nuts, So you do it this way and you're perfectly clear. Another thing you could do with the matzah, if you don't want to do it with the eggs, right? You have your abgusht cooking on the stove and it's boiling, right? You dip the matzah in the boiling abgusht, that's cooking it. Right? And then you bring it out, you put it somewhere to like dry up so it doesn't fall apart. Then you have cooked matzah. And you use that for hamotzi. It's still hamotzi. But it has to be on the fire. On Friday, of course, Friday. Keep it in there. Yeah, I would say 10 seconds. But it needs to be boiling while it's boiling because you need to cook it. Not off the fire. It needs to be on the fire. Of course. This is all before Shabbat. This is all before Shabbat. You need to prepare all of this stuff so you have it. Any questions so far? Fantastic. Yes. Same for Shabbat lunch. You use the same kind of matzah and you're set free. You don't have any more chametz in your home. It makes things so much easier. Right?
Can you skip it?
Can you skip? Chas v'shalom. It's the meal of Shabbat. You have to have kiddush. You have to have bread. So why skip it? And it needs to be, it needs to be enjoyable. Sit down, enjoy. People that used to have bread, I remember, when you're having bread on that Shabbat in the morning or even Friday night, it's very stressful. Like, I think that's bread. It's like you're licking the floor and you're making sure nothing falls. Some people go outside and eat their bread and then they walk in while they're chewing. I mean, Hashem doesn't make it that hard, really. It really, just relax. Do it in a way that we can enjoy the Yom Tov, not the Chas v'Shalom. Make it, it needs to be enjoyed. Someone had their hand. Did you have your hand up? So we have an obligation on Shabbat to have hamotzi, kiddush and hamotzi. That's why it's important to do the meals, to do the hamotzi. Yes, you do need at least those two, Friday night and Shabbat lunch, you need to have. Soda shilishit is important as well. So if you do it this way, you could have that for soda shilishit. If someone runs out of that matzah, soda shilishit you could do with fruits, mezonot. If someone has mezonot matzah or whatever it is, you could do it with those.
Right.
Yes.
So I know you spoke about how if you have chametz and then you put it in like the trash can and it's still like on your property and you don't take it out to the next
Yes.
I know like some people, they do the online selling of your chametz. So would that cover it or no?
No, because
the rest of your chametz maybe too.
Yeah.
right. If you're doing the sale, I mean, you've done the sale when?
Before.
You've done it before, right? What you've been eating is not sold. If it is, someone's going to be very upset because you've sold them eaten bread. So the selling happens. You need to do that on Thursday, Friday morning. Selling is done. Whatever it is that you're having, you didn't include in that sale. So that's yours. You need to know the selling of chametz that you're doing is a real sale. It's not like, no, it's real. Okay, it has to be real. If it wasn't real, you own chametz. You can't do that. It needs to be a real sale. So yes, that blue label, Don Julio, is all sold to some, who knows, I don't know, Oscar or something. He owns it now. And technically speaking, if Oscar decides to come to your home in the middle of Pesach and be like, hi, I'm here for the cabinet on the right of your kitchen for the Don Julio and the blue label, you need to direct him to that cabinet and he can take it. Right? There's a really funny video they made in Israel. It's like the guy opens his bedroom door and there's a bunch of goyim sitting in his house eating chametz. Like, you sold us the chametz, we're having It's like, closes the door. They're like doing gelyun in there. It's crazy. It's the funniest thing. But it's a real sale. It must work like that or else, you're not selling it. So you have to go through a synagogue that has those contracts that will sell your chametz for you as your shaliach, as your messengers to do the job. Therefore, you don't own any chametz. As I said before, selling of chametz is important. A Jew shouldn't be wasteful. You don't have to throw all your chametz out, all those whiskey bottles or whatever it is. No, if you do a proper sale and close all these things up in a cabinet and put a sign on it that it's chametz and it's sold, it's perfectly legit. Just sell it for a very high price so Oscar doesn't show up. In the middle of Pesach, and be like, I want that bottle of $3,000, Shivas. Any questions? I can go on? Great. Okay. All right. We got a lot to cover. All right. As we said, this year, on Shabbat, the time that chametz becomes asur to eat is at 10:18 a.m., chametz becomes asur to own at 11:36 a.m. Already. So if we do option 2 that I just said, you already got rid of your chametz already from before, from Friday. So you're good. You're set. Now, another challenge that we come to, especially for the ladies, but this shouldn't be especially for the ladies. This should be for the guys also. But you'll see, we have a good story, right? So there's a halacha on Shabbat that says that when you're in Shabbat, you're not allowed to prepare anything for after Shabbat because it's disrespectful to the Shabbat. You're supposed to be enjoying Shabbat. You're not supposed to work on Shabbat preparing for Sunday. And it doesn't even matter if you're doing that for Yom Tov. So this year, the Seder night is Motzai Shabbat. On Shabbat itself, you can't be setting up your table for the Seder night and setting up chairs for the Seder night. So it makes things a little bit challenging. Therefore, all the men out there have to work very hard to come home from Bet Knesset as early as possible to help around the house to prepare the home for everything that needs to be done. Or the siblings, whoever is available needs to make themselves available to be at home right after Shabbat so that things could work. So mommy or my wives don't get stressed out preparing for a very, very happy occasion, Pesach Seder night. One of my rabbis used to say, we sit at the table every year and we say, Avadim hayinu beretz Mitzrayim, we were slaves in the land of Egypt, and Hashem with a long stretched strong arm freed us. He goes, the wives come out of the kitchen and go, I don't know, every year the husbands feel they're free, we still feel like we're slaves. It's true. They work very, very hard, and it's not just the Seder night, it's from months before. So as he brings in this Sefer, it's very important. The Torah says, Azov ta'azov lo. We're commanded in the Torah that if we see an acquaintance that needs our help, we have to give them a helping hand, right? How much more so when it comes to our wives, our other siblings, they need help. They mamash need help, and we have to make ourselves available. I get it. We need to go to shul. We need to do the other obligatory things. So fine. We make it work where we can come home as early as possible, or the things that we can do from beforehand, at least do the things from beforehand. Give a lending hand. Help around the house from before. If it is preparing washing of the lettuce. That doesn't need to be done by a woman. Oh boy, am I going to get fired for this. That could be done by the guys in the home. That, by the way. Oh boy. my job every year since when I was single, my job every year was preparing the lettuce and preparing the rice. You had to check the rice, which maybe we'll discuss. But rice, you need to check 3 times to make sure there's no chametz in it, right? So imagine how many people you always have over for Chag. I had these bags of rice. My mother would sit me down with a big sini on the floor. I'm like, your eyes begin to see rice. Everything. But everybody has to help out. And with the lettuce, it was my job to clean them. Sometimes we used to put separate goodie bags, like Ziploc bags, for each one at the table to have their own lettuce and matzah. That's something that I used to do. But everybody needs to help, especially this year when it gets a little bit in the crunch because it's Shabbat. It is a mitzvah to show each other that we can help each other. That is one of the biggest mitzvot. Husband and a wife have to be a team, mamash, a team, so that the wives, when it comes to Pesach, there's a lot of obligations that women are also obligated. Like Haggadah of Pesach, all the stories of Pesach, the woman is also obligated to either listen or to read, right? Hallel, a woman also has to say the Hallel. This is the first time that a woman has to say Hallel on Seder night with a bracha. Sephardim don't say Hallel with a bracha. But Pesach, because the women were also in that miracle of the Exodus, they also have the bracha of saying Hallel and singing. So the first time I said this, my wife said, then come in the kitchen, help me so that I can also be there and do Hallel with you. And I totally got it. I said, what are you going to do? You're right. So you have to work it out where the women can also come and sit down and hal konan and lambedan, so that the next time that they actually go on their left, they don't fall asleep. They can actually enjoy the Seder night. It's really important. It needs to be teamwork so that the kids, if you have little kids, they see that. When they see that, they grow up to also be able to run a Seder the way you did. So now, preparing, make sure that you prepare everything from before. Now, this year, what do? So you had Shabbat at home. What are you going to do? You can't prepare the Seder table. So what you can do is, whatever it is you can do from before Shabbat, you do. And then the rest of it, literally 20 minutes after sundown, which this year would fall around 7:45. 7:45 p.m., you could start doing everything for the Seder. And by then, the men are not home yet. None of your guests are going to be home yet. It'll be another half hour or so before everybody comes home, right? So at least you get a head start. Biggest, easiest thing to do is the food, all the food that you're going to cook should be prepared from before. Meaning you don't need to cook anything from new. You just need to reheat. Reheating, don't worry. 7:45, you put that stuff to get reheated on the stove. By the time you get to eat food at the Seder, after Amu Folan gets to the table and Amme comes and Khale comes and they have their conversations and what happened to the this, what happened to the that, it'll be 9 o'clock maybe if you're lucky if you start eating the food. So by then, everything's going to be warmed up, everything's going to be good to go. So by 7:45, that's the time you can actually start, and that's when you could actually light the Yom Tov candles as well. Okay, we got much to cover, so let me keep going. Before lighting the Yom Tov candles, we say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haasher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Yom Tov. Just make sure that you don't light the candles too early. Again, it's Shabbat, so make sure you're going after 7:45. If there are those that hold. If there's anybody that holds Rabbeinu Tam, that would be 8:35, the stringent one. There's a stringent time to keep, Rabbeinu Tam, which is 72 minutes. So those, they go till 8:35. But if you go with the regular calendars, 7:45 p.m. and after, that's when you can light the Yom Tov candles. There is no rush to light the Yom Tov candles, right? You could wait till everybody comes home and light it in front of everyone when they can all answer Amen. Yes, we'll get to Havdalah as well.
Women say Shapiranu then?
No. I'm going to get there. So now, women should not make shechianu on the candles on Yom Tov. What you should do is, you should just make the bracha on the candles, ner shel Yom Tov, and then when the head of the family makes kiddush and says shechianu during kiddush, you have in mind also that shechianu is also for the candles, right? So Sephardim especially never make shechianu on the candles. The only time that we do make shechianu on the candles is Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur we make shechianu on the candles because some ladies might not come to Bet Knesset and they might not hear shechianu to Bet Knesset, right? So you need to make shechianu on the candles. But here, just wait for the husband. If somebody did say shechianu at the candles, it's fine. It just don't answer amen to shechianu at kiddush, if you remember. It's best not to answer the amen to that because it's going to be a savek before you drink.
These candles are a woman's obligation or a man?
The candles is usually the women's obligation, unless there's women's, of course. Seder Omer. Okay, so now, how does the kiddush work this year? Like you asked. If you open a Haggadah, every Haggadah that we have, Baruch Hashem, has instructions on how to do things. This year's Kiddush is going to be different. Why? Because you're going to have Havdalah in middle of Kiddush. It's going from Shabbat to Yom Tov. So if you open any Haggadah, which I just did, oh, look at that. Check it out. I opened it to the right page. Gabby, where's the jokes? So, Kiddush this year is going to be like this. You first make, if you go with the Haggadahs, all the Haggadahs have the Havdalah in them within Kiddush. So don't get confused. It's there. What you do is, first you start, I'm just doing that for the Ashkenazim to feel at home as well. And then, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam boreh peri hagefen. You make hagefen, and then you make the blessing on the Yom Tov, which is Asher bachar banu mikol am veromemanu mikol lashon v'chidashanu. And then Moadim Simcha Chagim Uzmanim. You make the bracha on the Chag, which is the Kiddush. Right after that, somebody lights a Havdalah candle at the table from an existing light, because it's Yom Tov. We don't light matches. So you make sure you have your existing light from before Shabbat, like the stove is on, or you have a 24-hour candle or a 48-hour candle, something. You light the Havdalah candle, you bring it to the table, and the person that's making Kiddush says, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam boreh meoreh ha'esh. And everybody puts their fingers to the fire. Then, he makes Havdalah, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam hamavdil ben kodesh lechol. And then he ends off with the bracha of Baruch Atah Hashem Hamavdil ben Kodesh leKodesh. Why? Because you're not going from Kodesh lechol, you're going from one Kodesh to another Kodesh. You're going from Shabbat to Yom Tov. So you say Baruch Atah Hashem Hamavdil ben Kodesh leKodesh. Right? Make sure you don't turn off the Havdalah candle. Whatever candles you use for the Havdalah, you don't turn it off. Why? Because on Yom Tov, we don't turn off fire. So you can just leave it somewhere for it to go out. And then, after Havdalah, you make Shechianu Vegianu Lazeman Hazeh, and you drink your cup. And that's literally, I know it could be a little bit confusing, but all you need to do is just follow the Haggadah. The Haggadah has all of this in there. Very simply put. Okay. All right. That's the Seder of this, the part of the halachot that I wanted to do that pertain to this year. Let me see if anybody has any questions. After this, I'm just going to go very quickly through the Haggadah Shel Pesach, the Seder of what we do and how we do things and the things you need to know. Yes?
Do you still use besamim for Havdalah on like
No. For Yom Tov, we do not use besamim. The reason is because Motzai Shabbat regular, we use besamim. Why? Because we're going from Shabbat to a weekday. So Chachamim tell us that on Shabbat, a special neshama comes in our bodies. And when Shabbat leaves, the special neshama leaves also. So our neshamas become a little depressed. I don't know if you guys have ever felt this. Motzai Shabbat, you kind of feel like a little weight because you're going from Shabbat to like a weekday. That's that neshama that has left. It's the neshama of Shabbat that leaves. So because of that, we make besamim to kind of revive ourselves and come back. On Yom Tov, the neshama doesn't leave because you're going from Shabbat to Yom Tov. So we don't make besamim when in that Havdalah. It's only boreh me'oreh ha'esh. Why? Because we're going from Shabbat, that fire was not permitted, to Yom Tov, where fire is permitted to a certain degree. So we only have the Havdalah candle. Okay.
For fire.
For the fire? For the fire, for fire, you're not allowed to turn off fire on Yom Tov. So when you have food cooking on Yom Tov on a stove, if it's a fire that's on from before, you can turn it up, for your food to cook faster. Turning down considers turning off, right? So it's not okay to do. However, if your food is on the fire and it's burning and you're doing it for the cooking of the food, then you can lower it, right? But if you take the food off, you can't lower the fire just because you want to lower the fire. You can only use the fire up and down for the food, which means you want your food to cook faster, you turn it up. If it's burning your food and you see it's burning, turn it lower so it doesn't burn your food. So some people use this as a kind of like a loophole where they want to turn the fire down and you're allowed to. You can put like water or whatever it is that's boiling too much and it's going to get destroyed or whatever it is. And you go, I got to turn it down now. But you can't turn it off. Be careful not to turn it off. Any other questions? Yes.
So the fire need to be on from Friday night to Saturday night?
From
warm on the
there has to be some fire on.
Not make from the 24 hours.
You can. Any fire.
No, I know, but you need to be on from Friday night, the gas on.
I mean, if you're going to be using your stove on Shabbat,
No, I'm not.
so you don't have to have the gas on.
So we can take the fire from the
Sure.
24 hours?
Yes, leave a 24 or 48 hour candle, and then for Yom Tov, you can take fire from that and turn on your stove. Yeah, don't do the tick, 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 tick.
No, you need to take the...
Don't do the tick, 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 tick.
No, but how you turn it on?
I tell you how.
No, you have to take it from the...
Don't do the tick, tick, tick. So what I do, our stove also does tick, tick, tick. And I unplug our stove. We always set a reminder. My wife goes, don't forget to unplug the stove. So I unplug the stove because that tick, tick, tick is from the electric part of the stove, not from the gas part of the stove. So I unplug our stove. So our stove becomes an old school stove where there's no tick, tick, tick. You just have to have a lit fire to light the fire on. You don't need the igniting thing. Do you have the tick, tick, tick on your stove also? We all have tick, tick, ticks. I love that word now. It became my favorite word of the night. All right, can we... Any other questions or are we going to fight? Okay. Shana, how are we doing? Good? Informative? Okay, here we go. So as we said, do not forget to do... We'll have time for questions. We'll have time. B'li neder. Do not forget to do your Biur Chametz on Friday morning. If you're going to go with the instructions, the easy instructions that I gave of getting rid of all your Chametz from beforehand. So Friday morning already, you should get rid of all your Chametz and do Biur Chametz. And if you've seen the Haggadahs, in the first pages, it says, this is the schedule of Biur Chametz, where there's these words. You say, Kol chamira deika birshuti dechazite udla hazite deviarte udla deviarte liftil veleheve kafra dara, which basically means any type of leavening bread that I have, whether I found it, I didn't find it, whether it's in my, it becomes batel, like the dust of the earth, meaning I don't own it anymore in case I didn't find something in some crevice or whatever. It's like, that's what we do on Friday morning. Again, look on your Haggadahs, it's in the first pages. Really not that big of a deal. Don't make it too difficult. We did Hadlakat Nerot. Fantastic. Okay, now we're going to go Okay, now, okay. I forgot to bring something, but I knew I forgot something. All right, so Kadesh. The first thing we start is with Kadesh. You know the song? Karpaz, Yachatz. Afarin Solomon. Afarin. You're ready. So first we start with Kadesh. Kadesh is Kiddush. We need to drink 4 cups of wine on the Seder night. These 4 cups of wine were ordained by the Chachamim for Jews all over the world. It's in the Haggadah. It's the oldest thing. One of the oldest books we have is actually the Haggadah. Now, these 4 cups of wine, there are rules to these 4 cups of wine. It's not 4 big cups of wine, it's not 4 small cups of wine, and it's not 4 sips of wine either. And the ladies are also obligated in these. So this is not one of those times that people can say, oh, why do you not include us? We are including you. Happy? Get drunk with us. So on Pesach night, these 4 cups of wine has a minimum amount to be drunk, to drink. And the minimum is 2.9 ounces or 3 ounces, not 4. If you like to drink 4, it's fine. But the minimum amount is 2.9 or 3 ounces. Huh? It's literally that big. It's not a lot. It's like 2 chickfuls. It's not a lot. And again, you do not have to drink wine. It could be grape juice. If someone is sensitive to wine, the ladies are working so hard, they're probably exhausted. 1 cup of that wine and I'm sleeping for the rest of the Chag, So you don't have to drink wine. You could drink grape juice. But those that can drink wine, definitely it's better. The original was wine, but the grape juice we have today is pure grape juice. You can be yotze lechatchila, meaning to the highest degree of the halacha. You could be fulfill your obligation with grape juice. No problem, nothing at all, right? And it has the cups, you have to make sure. Now, I was going to bring one. I'm so sorry. That's one. I kept looking in my home like there was one more thing that I need to. So I bought years ago. It's very easy to find. I bought from different stores. They have 3-ounce shot glasses. They're like bigger shot glasses. And we have these. I have, I bought them from our dear friends, Nagila, which they actually have them. They're for chai. The small estekan hai Iran for chai. They have those and they're 3 ounces. They're perfect. So I bought a whole lot and then that's what we use. We give to all of our guests. They have it in front of them and they fill it up or someone fills it up for them with 3 ounces and you lean on the left and you drink your 3 ounces, your yotze. This is really, really important. To do the mitzvah of drinking the 4 cups on the Seder night is one of the most important mitzvot of the night. And it's so important to do it right because why do we have a measurement? Because the Chachamim ordained, if there is a mitzvah to drink wine 4 times, what is really considered drinking? What's considered eating? If you eat something, how much of it is considered you've eaten? Right? If you drink something, how much is it considered that you've actually eaten? For instance, if somebody, chas v'shalom, is not well, God forbid, on Yom Kippur, let's say they just gave birth, the mazal tov v'sha'a tova mutzlahat, which doctors, halakha says, they can't fast, right? They just gave birth, right? And so the prescribed way to drink water on Yom Kippur is less than 3 ounces each time. Because if you drink less than 3 ounces each time, it's as if you didn't even drink. Why? Because actually drinking and really enjoying it, you need to at least have a cheekful. It doesn't really, So that's a loophole in the halakha. Therefore, when we come to this particular mitzvah as well, there's few measurements that we have to pay attention to. One of them is the cups of wine, 3 ounces each. Children, it's a little bit less than half of that, yeah. Children also, you have little kids, even under 13 years old, it's a beautiful way to teach them the mitzvah, grape juice. Make sure they drink their grape juice, 3 ounces, sit down, let them. Pesach night is all about the children. Forget us. It's all about the kids. It's all about the family. The most important part of Pesach is the kids. So you make sure they get what they need. Rav Ovadia Zatzal used to say, bring chocolate, bring candy on the table, and just keep giving it to the kids. Kids need to enjoy the Seder night because this is our value system. It's all on Yetziat Mitzrayim. We came out of Mitzrayim and we want to tell you the story. Here, candy, listen to my stories. All right? Then, after Kadesh comes, and make sure, each of these wines that we're drinking, we are leaning to the left. Why do we lean to the left? Because kings lean to the left. And when we want to show, it's a form of aristocracy, that we're free people, we're kings now, we lean to the left. So much so that even if you're a lefty, which I don't even know why you would be, but even if someone's a lefty, they still lean on the left. They wouldn't lean on the right because left shows kingship. The kings used to have these beds in their chambers and they used to lean on it and eat and drink, right? It was always on the left. Number two is that leaning on the right and eating is very, very dangerous because the pipes, chas v'shalom, mix. Leaning on the left is actually a healthy way of eating. What do you know? Right? It goes right down. Did you have a question, Solomon?
Yeah, Rabbi, isn't left representative of Gevura? So wouldn't you want to be on the right, but on the side of Chesed?
No, in this sense, because you want to show kingship, that's Gevura.
Is Gevura?
Yeah, it's a good point. But don't jump in like that again, okay, Solomon? Poor kid never asks any questions. All right. Okay, we covered that. Urchatz. Kadesh, Urchatz. Afterwards, we wash our hands, Netilat Yadayim. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We don't make a bracha on this Netilat Yadayim. Why do we do this Netilat Yadayim? Is because we're going to dip the karafs in karpas, in vinegar water or salt water or whatever it is. And I don't want to get into the details of halachot of tum'ah and tahara, purity and impurities. But when you want to touch something that is food and it's wet, it becomes susceptible to tum'ah. Therefore, we do a netilat yadayim before we do that. You remember in Iran, they used to say when it's back in the day, the way they showed their love to the Jews. When it was raining, they would say, "Don't be on the same side of the street as the Jew because water transfers impurity." Any of you remember your grandparents ever told you that? I remember that as a kid. Okay, where do you think they got that? They got it from our own halachot, because the laws of the Beit HaMikdash was that if something is wet, it becomes susceptible to impurity, to tum'ah. Meaning, if somebody had become tameh somehow, touched a dead animal or something, and they touched a food that was wet, that food would become tameh as well, right? That's why we do netilat yadayim. So therefore, we do netilat yadayim. Then we go to karpas. Karpas, when it comes to the measure of karafs, is the opposite. You should have less than the regular amount of karafs, which is less than 27 grams. Don't have too much, just take a little tiny piece. I know, every year we're so hungry at this time. When they bring this karpas and the vinegar water, I want to attack. Literally, it becomes the most tastiest thing in the world because food is far, far away. So you're thinking to yourself, I got to get enough of my system already, but hold on tight, it's coming. You make a borei peri ha'adama, and you have a little tiny piece of karafs in the vinegar water, which represents the tears of Am Yisrael and basically the sadnesses that Am Yisrael went through in Egypt, the saltiness of what they went through, and that's why we do karpas. Yachatz. Why small? Because you haven't washed netilat yadayim for hamotzi yet, right? And if you eat too much, then you have to make borei nefashot, and then you're going to make hamotzi. So just have a small piece. Yachatz is, for all the men in the house, is breaking the matzah, right? So you take the middle matzah, you have 3 matzahs on the table, you take the middle matzah and you rip it into 2 pieces. The bigger piece goes to afikoman, which the minhag is the kids take the bigger piece and they go hide it and they ask for Teslas if the fathers can't find it. It used to be bikes and stuff like that, but who rides bikes these days? Tesla. The kids come back and go, if you find it, I'm getting a Toyota. If you don't find it, it's a Tesla. It's a win-win situation, right? So the kids hide it. It's a way of keeping the kid. Honestly, I don't think it's a kid thing. Get the whole family involved. It's the best thing when everybody gets involved. Cheat. I'm telling all the adults, cheat. Follow your kids. It's so much better. It's so much fun when you cheat and you laugh. And the whole point is there should be laughter. And then you're going to give them what they want anyway. Let's be honest. We give them whatever they asked for anyway. So the bigger piece goes for Afikoman and the small piece remains in the middle matzahs. Then we go to Maggid. Maggid is most of the Haggadah, is 2/3 of the Haggadah is Maggid, which is all the stories of the Gemara and the Midrashim and all the stories of Yetziat Mitzrayim. This is the most important part of Pesach. The whole Seder night is this. And it's so unfortunate that because we've been in the exile for so long, we've forgotten so much, so we want to zoom through this part of it because we're hungry and we want to get to the food. So my suggestion is like this. We have 2 weeks to Pesach. Parents and kids should start preparing now. Go online, search things to say over at the Pesach table. Search different things to talk about. Bring up questions. Why do we do this? Why do we do that? Find the answers and discuss it at the table. Why are we Jews? Why do we have the Torah? Whatever it is, this is the main point of the Seder night. It's a deoraita. This is a Torah law. Why? Because the Torah says, "V'higata levincha bayom hahu." When your kids ask you, answer them. Tell them on that day what went on. Tell them Hashem took you out of Mitzrayim. Tell them about the splitting of the ocean. I have books upon books of stories that I keep telling my kids, okay, you read this one, you read that one. You need to tell me about it at the table. You need to tell me what happened at this plague. What was the grasshoppers? What were the frogs? And there's plenty of things to talk about when it comes to the Seder. Just take the 10 plagues, go and research online, midrashic stories about the 10 plagues. Print it out, put it on the table for people to discuss. What was the frog? What was the frog plague? Was it one frog? Or was it an attack of millions of frogs? Well, guess what? There's differences of opinion of actually what happened in the plague of the frog. Some say it was a lot of frogs. Some say it was a huge frog, and every time the Egyptians would hit it, it would start multiplying, like the movies, right? So it was a very freakish thing. These are things you could talk about, all these midrashic stories about what really happened. Why was Paro so terrified about the firstborns? There's so much. This is why we're doing Seder. The whole point of the Seder is to give over our story to our family. Why do you think we're still here? Because we never stopped telling over the story of the Seder, of the Exodus. Am Yisrael is still alive till this very day, with all of our books intact, all of our Torah intact, because every year we sit down at the Seder table and we talk and we discuss and we talk and we bring more to this midrash, and it just brings us back to life, so to speak. It's really important. So when it gets here, please sit with your families, have something prepared from before, and actually have a Seder of talking, and not talking about Trump, not talking about Biden, not talking about Tesla, it's not the time. Talk about Jews. Talk about Am Yisrael. Talk about where we stand. Talk about where Am Yisrael is today. Talk about the miracles that have happened for Am Yisrael today. How many miracles Hashem has done for us in the past year with these things. It's like so many miracles that have happened. These are the miracles of Yetziat Mitzrayim. These are the miracles of Yetziat Mitzrayim. Okay, that's Maggid. And by the way, ladies are obligated in Maggid. Also, the storytelling of Pesach, ladies are also obligated. Sit down, talk about it, discuss it with your kids, with your husbands, whoever. Sit at the table. This is the part, by the way, I said when I said this, my wife was like, come in the kitchen, help me so I can come sit. So I get it. It's hard. They're preparing, but it worked. You could work it. You could work it out where everyone could be at the table at the same time. Yes.
Do you also feel like we have a responsibility if we have like friends or family who maybe tend to like rush through the Seder or, maybe derail the conversation to speak up and like basically explain it the way you just did?
Listen, I get it. We always have different family members that were brought up differently or they're not, fine. It's okay. You need to understand, it's Yom Tov. Even if it wasn't Yom Tov, Darkei Shalom. Everything has to be done in a peaceful way, right? No one has to pick a fight with anybody. Okay, so they want to go faster. Let them go faster. You can sit with your family members around the table and talk. And whenever everything is ready, everything is ready. There's no need to make a fuss about, no, it has to be this way. Don't make a big deal out of it. But guaranteed, if you have prepared stuff around the table and you make it interesting for everybody, everyone will be into it, and everyone will do it together. Make sense? Yeah. Now, Dayenu. My favorite part. You see? So everyone wants to know, by the way, Dayenu is a part of the Haggadah. It's actually written. It says, Im lo tziyanu meretz Mitzrayim, Dayenu. No one even reads it. The word Dayenu comes up, I get on a chair. I get my belt out, and I'm ready to go. Okay? Not even funny. It's war, by the way. And it's always with the guys, you try to buy a new suit for Chag, and it smells like piyaz for the rest of the year. So I figured it out. This is what I mean by being prepared from before. Get a Pesach robe that is extra large, wrap it around you nice, get a turban, cover your head. Piasche from Eilat Market, these big ones are like that thick. I'll buy like 5, I buy like 5 or 6 of them for my kids and myself, and we mean business. Now you might ask, where did these minhagim come from? Where did these customs come from? At the end, we start hitting each other with leeks, onion, like these green onions. Why? Again, it was all instituted in order to keep the kids interested and waiting at the table not to fall asleep. All of it. This is what the Chachamim instituted. They said, whatever it takes, do it so the kids don't get bored, because this is for them. This is for the next generation. So they'll sit at the table no matter what. Give them candy. Have a fight with them. Throw your shoe. Go crazy. Hide the afikoman. Give them prizes. It's all about how do we get the next generation to sit through the Seder the whole time and actually know it so that Be'ezrat Hashem, they'll be the guy with a white beard at the end of the table doing it for their grandkids, Be'ezrat Hashem, one day. That's the whole point. I told this to my students every year. It makes me so sad. It makes me so sad when I see posted videos of grandpas making kiddush at the Seder table. They take a video of their grandfather making kiddush at the table and like, oh, grandpa making kiddush at Seder. It's nice. But you know what the meta message, what the message behind that post is? Look, a dying breed. Check it out, guys. Look, it's this old dinosaur making kiddush. What does it mean? It means that the only thing you could do at the table is take a video of the person that might not be around as long as you would like them to be around, and it's going to be a dying breed, a dying minhag. But the whole point of Pesach is that it shouldn't become a dying minhag. The whole point is you should be around the table, you should get involved so that you'll be the next guy running the service. You need to be the guy doing the kiddush. And it's so sad. You see so many young people, after the last generation, their grandfather, their grandparents pass away, they are clueless as to what to do at the Seder. They need to run a Seder, they don't know what to do. How do you do it? You learn. It's really simple. You just have to take a Haggadah. There's Haggadahs in Persian, Ladino, English, French, name it. With instructions, with transliteration and translations, whatever you need, it's out there. And we all need to learn it, men and women. All of us have the same obligation together to do it. Please do it for your families. Do it for Am Yisrael. Who's going to lead the next generation? Who's going to do it? It's these kids, and they need to be involved. Yes?
What's your take on reading the Haggadah in Hebrew versus English?
If everybody around the table understands the English, but they don't understand the Hebrew, okay? If there's one person that can read the Hebrew, let that one person lead the Hebrew, and then a little lower, and one person or few people become in charge, page after page, reading it in English out loud. This way, everybody understands. That's what we do in our family also. One person reads it in Hebrew, right? And then we have Persian speakers. You know, my mother, she should be she does one page, my sisters do another page. That's how it is. That's how we learn. How do you know? Like, you know, it's like I still remember it since I was a kid because we learned it in Persian. We heard it, we understood it, we know what it's about, we know what we're doing. Kids need to know what is happening in order for them to be involved. So one thing you need to do, especially when it comes to, it should always be the case, but especially the Seder night. If there are families that are not observant, I don't care how observant you are, no phones. Come sit with me. Just let's talk about the Seder. Let's read together. Again, you need to be prepared from before. Can't get a teenager at the table and then be like, all right, let's talk about something. You're not gonna have anything to talk about. Prepare things from before so you have what to offer. To engage other people to be involved at the Seder night. If you're not prepared from before, you can't expect much. Again, nothing by force. It has to be menachat, b'shalom, b'shalva, so that everybody enjoys the Seder night. All right. So that's Dayenu. And by the way, this is the only place that I ever found that brings the minhag of using these green onions for Dayenu. Nobody else does it, by the way. The only people that do it are Persian Jews. So we have a copyright on this. There are different cultures that do it differently. We're the only ones that do it this way, and Maran Ovadia Yosef brings it down, Zatzal, and he says it's a beautiful minhag because it keeps the children awake, whatever it takes. There you go. There you go. Pat on the back. We got it right. I'll watch. Someone's going to comment from Uzbekistan that they do it also, and it's not just the Persians. I'm sorry. The only people that I know is Persians. And then, after Dayenu, after Maggid, we have Rochza, which is we wash our hands, Netilat Yadayim, for Hamotzi this time, for the Matzah. And then Motzi Matzah, we take the 2.5 at this point of Matzah. We have 1/2 piece in the middle, one on top, one under. And we make Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam Hamotzi Lechem Min Haaretz. We make Hamotzi. And then we put just follow the Haggadah. We put the bottom one down. We take the 2 top ones, meaning 1.5, and we make Baruch Atah Hashem Al Achilat Matzah. How much matzah do you have to eat? So now, for drinking was 3 ounces. For eating matzah, the portions of matzah that we have to eat on Leil Pesach is a kazait, which is 27 grams. This is a piece of matzah. It's a soft matzah. Okay? This is not how the soft matzahs come. The regular soft matzahs are bigger. They're like that big. This is a specially made matzah that they have boxed, which come in pieces of 27 grams each. This way, the household member doesn't have to go crazy making sure they're giving everybody enough. Look, I'm going to put this on my weight here. Oh, this is 2 times, which is about 54 grams, 50 to 54 grams. This one right here. And it's a soft matzah. You heat it up on the Nar of Chag. You put it like what I do is, we put it like we have berenj, we have polo, we have rice. We just kind of put it on inside the pot with the berenj, and it becomes extremely soft like a lafa bread. And it's so easy to eat this matzah. Like usually, every year, when you have to have the cracker matzahs and you want to have the 50 grams, let's say, of matzah, you want to have the 50 grams of matzah, it's so difficult because your gums, your teeth, you're chewing, and it's like, I have to have this. Believe me, when I was a kid, I would be like, seriously, 54 grams of it's like one of those round thingies is 54 grams. And it was brutal. And it was just one piece of matzah in the beginning. Then you have another portion, then you have another portion. It's like, I'm sitting there for half an hour. You couldn't breathe anymore, you know? But Baruch Hashem, we Sephardim, we are going back to our old ways, this is the real matzah, by the way. The cracker matzahs are only about 200 years old. There's a reason why we have them. I'm not going to get into it. But originally, all matzah was soft, like this one. So if you buy these soft matzahs, eating the correct amount of matzah on Seder night is like that. Literally, after Bedikat Chametz, you eat this piece. And you just did the mitzvah. Yes, just this one piece. Right, a lot of people haven't seen the soft matzah. So afterwards, I'm going to put it in the chat where you can get soft matzahs this year. So the correct amount of matzah to have after hamotzi is minimum is 27 grams. But the best way to do it is to have twice 27 grams. Why? Because you have to have from the top matzah and that middle matzah that you had, each one 27 grams of each. So obviously you're not going to be able to have 27 grams from each other. So you take two little pieces from those and you give each person of the household one of these and you're done. If you don't have these pre-sized ones, that's why I have this at my table. Every year we have these in our home, right? On Pesach, you're allowed to. It's not a digital scale, it's a regular scale. I can put the thing on Amazon, the address where I got this from. It's very, very cool. And my whole family relies on it. I have all the matzahs next to me. As soon as it comes to the time of eating matzah, I'm a pro. I break out. Be like, all right, there's a piece here. Okay, 27 grams for you. 27 grams for you. 27 grams. Boom. So recently, Baruch Hashem, my other family members got tired of waiting for me to do it. So they also got a scale. So we have like 4 or 5 scales at the table. Everyone's doing their own. We're passing it. And then these babies came out and I was like, each one is already, I don't have to weigh anything, nothing. So some people could have a question as to why the measurements, this and that. Again, when it comes to doing mitzvot of the Torah, there are certain measurements of what considers you actually fulfilling that mitzvah. And sometimes that's by weight, sometimes that's by mass. So that's how we do the mitzvot. Right? If you don't have enough of it, you're not yotza the bracha of hamotzi that you made because you haven't really had a portion of bread. The portion that the Torah talks about is this much. This is the portion. It becomes very simple.
If you have those round big ones?
If you have those round big ones, usually half of that is like a little bit more than a kazait, depending on how thick it is. That's why it's difficult and it's going to take time to eat those. So that's why for the Seder, I get the soft ones because it's much easier to do the rations for the Seder. For the rest of like Pesach and stuff, it's just the cracker ones. You eat it with whatever you want. But in order to have the right amount of matzah, it's much easierly done with the soft ones. You just take a little piece and that's it. Yes?
You still need to have a piece of the top and
the middle one, yes. Top and the middle one. So the person who makes hamotzi and achar matzah takes one little piece from the top, one little piece from the middle one, and then gives you a size this big of whatever matzah they have for you to eat it all together.
those 2 pieces from the...
Right, and that. Right. Okay.
Can you afterwards mention?
What?
Can you afterwards mention it? So if somebody wasn't able to get on the website to find it, where they can buy this?
Yes, I'm going to put it on our.
Somebody doesn't.
I don't. It's the shul here that does it. I don't even know the website, honestly. Okay, then we go to Maror, which we said is the lettuce, eating the lettuce. Lettuce also when you're eating the portion of lettuce, maror is also 27 grams of maror. So this comes very handy. You weigh the maror also. Maror has to remind us of the bitterness, because it has an aftertaste of bitterness. It has to remind us of the bitterness of Mitzrayim, all the slavery that we did in Mitzrayim. So the maror has to be dipped gently. Oh, this becomes a fight at our table. It needs to be dipped gently in the charoset, in the haleb. No one likes to do it gently. When it comes to this point, we're so hungry, we're like, maror, but okay. They take like a shovel. They shovel it onto the thing. Okay, Alon, check out how bitter was Mitzrayim. And they're licking, Mitzrayim was very bitter. Okay, so you need to be a little bit more patient. When it comes to eating the lettuce as a part of the memory of the bitterness, you only dip it gently in the charoset because you need to taste the bitterness of the lettuce itself. And the reason we dip it in the charoset is to remind us of the clay, that the mortar that the Jews were using in Egypt. So not yet. There will be a chance we're going to have a lot of that charoset, but not with this one. With this one, you guys are going to have so much fun because of me at the Seder table now. You're going to be all like, oh, I know how to do these. You gleam, you. Chas v'shalom, I'm kidding. It's like, oh, he took one spoonful. He's like, relax. Everybody's okay. Even if they have a spoonful, let them have it. There's no reason fighting about it. Whoever's here knows, whoever wants to go buy it, you go buy it. Don't worry about it. Even if they took a spoonful, okay, Nushe John. So, at this point, we're so starving. Who is that comedian, Italian guy that was talking about getting invited to the Jews' home for Pesach? Somebody, he was talking about how he's like, I was starving and they were passing out booklets for us to read before we get, so it's like, I remember I watched it, I was like, he's so right. Anybody that comes from outside to a Pesach Seder thinks we're crazy. They're like, do we eat now? No. Do we eat now? Oh, 27 grams with this, with any hummus? No hummus, just that. Just swallow. It's like, so, No. I'm gonna finish very soon. Now, then we go to korech. What is korech? Now, this is why we know the original matzah was soft matzah, because when we come to korech is when you make a sandwich with the lettuce and charoset as much as you want. Lay it, And the Haggadah says korechan ve'ochlan bebat achad, which means they wrapped it. It was a wrap of lettuce and charoset and the matzah. You can't wrap the cracker matzahs, but you could definitely wrap these. So you take one of these or a kazait of whatever you have, you put charoset on it, and you put 27 grams again of lettuce. Anytime you have lettuce, you have to have 27 grams. You wrap it and you eat it. Don't forget to lean. You got to lean for this one. The only time you don't lean is maror beforehand, because that's the bitterness. You don't need to lean for that. But when the sandwich comes up for the sweetness of the thing, you do lean. Then shulchan orech, you set up the table for the delicious delicacies. Just a quick pointer, which I make this mistake almost every year because we're so hungry. They bring all that food and you just keep eating. We shouldn't fill ourselves too much because we have afikoman to eat at the end of the Seder, which is the last portion of matzah, which should be 27 grams, little less than this, 27 grams minimum. Some people do this whole one, right? You need to leave enough room for that. And by room, I don't mean forcing it down. In fact, you're not allowed to force it down. It shouldn't be in a place where you need to force it down. You need to have a little bit of room left where you're not, throwing up from eating too much. So don't overeat, as hard as it is with all the great food that the women in our community cook, Baruch Hashem, all the women. Just leave a little room so you can have the afikoman betavon at the end of the Seder. The Seder should be done, by the way, try your best to finish the Seder before midnight. It's the best time to finish. Midnight this year is 12:54. Midnight. If you didn't finish, it's okay, but the best thing to do is to try to get but don't rush anybody.
What do we take it as a form and with what?
Afikoman is with nothing, just the matzah itself. And then right afterwards you go into, No haler with afikoman.
Some people take it with eggs.
No, the eggs is before the afikoman. Some people have zecher lekorban chagiga. It's an egg, it's a minhag that we have before afikoman. After afikoman, you're not allowed to eat anything else. You go into like the Bedikat Hamazon, and afterwards you make halal. And then halal comes after Bedikat Hamazon, which is a mitzvah for everyone to do, even the ladies, to do the halal at the end together with their husbands. Ki olam hasto, sit next to your husband or your son or whoever it is. You know, hamotzianu mitzrayim, ki olam hasto, ki olam hasto. Do it together. Again, whatever you could do during this process to keep people awake and laughing and happy, you do it. You do it. I remember, one year I dressed up as an old, like an old Jew with a turban and a thing. I went to the bedroom when my kids were not looking. I went and I changed all my clothes. And then I came out. I said, I just left Egypt. So it's like we did a whole act. My kids were like, well, you're such a. They started beating with that. But listen, we had our fun, and that was it. There are people that have a minhag that I think it's the Moroccans or the Syrians that have a minhag that they take the ka'ara that's on the table with all the different things for Pesach, and the grandpa or the father kind of like bends their back over, and they put the ka'ara on his back, right? And they would start asking questions, right? Where did you come from? And he would say, Mi Misraim, from Egypt. Where are you going to? Yerushalayim. And they would say, what is this that you have? It's the hard work that we brought with us, and matzot that we baked on our backs. And so it was all of these things were done in order for everybody to be involved in the Seder, the story of the Exodus, the story of Am Yisrael. It's beautiful. We have a beautiful history. Who has the history that we have? We need to be informed. We need to learn about it so that we can give it over. There's books, there's websites, do all of it before. Come to the table prepared so you can actually enjoy. I did this shiur because I really want more people to really learn what the Seder should be like. How to really enjoy the Seder with your family. There's so much you could do to really enjoy it and do everything api halacha. Look, this is what we do every year. I know for some people it's like, come on, halacha 27. Yes, you want to do the mitzvah according to all the laws of the halacha. Yes, it's 27 grams, it's 54 grams. You do it. Everybody enjoys it. If everyone's in on it, no one's going to make fun. Even if they do, I don't care. We do the mitzvah the way our chachamim have told us. We do everything else the way they told us. We do this one the same way. If someone doesn't want to do it, there's no reason to fight. There's no reason to argue. Get on with it. You do you. Enjoy the Seder with your family. And Bezrat Hashem, like we say, Leshana haba Yerushalayim Bezrat Hashem. Yes.
I have a question for you regarding something about Chametz. Do we need to change our toothbrush?
Yes, toothbrush you should change. That Erev Pesach already by, let's say, Friday morning, start, if you're going to go with all the kasher le-Pesach food already from Friday night, change your toothbrush, bring a new toothbrush out so you're using a new toothbrush. Very good point. Yes?
When we pour the cup of food in the Hanabi, we put it on the table.
Yes.
The next night, we have to pour another one. What do we do with it? Do we throw it away then?
No, you could cover it and use it again the next night. You don't have to throw out the Eliyahu Navi cup. And we always wash our cups in between from each of the 4 abrakosot that we have, the 4 cups. Each time we wash out the cup and we use a clean cup. Okay, yes, you could use plastic cups. By the way, in previous years, when we had like a large table, I didn't have enough of those glass cups. I went to Target and I found 3 or 4 ounce plastic cups. They were perfect. Amazon has it. You can buy a pack of 100 and just give them out to everybody and then throw it out afterward. Yes.
What about Sunday cooking? Can you explain? For lunch and night.
Oh, Sunday cooking, meaning on Yom Tov again. All right. So once again, when it comes to one Yom Tov to the next Yom Tov, just like Shabbat, you can't cook from on one Yom Tov for the next Yom Tov because it's disrespectful the Yom Tov you're in. So you have to wait till nightfall comes, and then if you haven't cooked before, then you start the cooking.
So we have to cook from Friday for Sunday.
Yes, many people do that. Many people cook all of their food. Believe me, it's much easier. Cook everything from before, have it ready. No one's gonna complain. If they do, talk to me. Sorry. Sure, for the Yom Tov itself, meaning for Sunday, sure. But if you're gonna, let's say, cook Sunday for for Sunday night, which is already technically the end of Sunday, it's already Monday, then you have to wait for nighttime to come. But for the Yom Tov, for itself, sure, you have a pre-existing flame. You can cook whatever you want, breakfast, lunch, on the same day, of course. Yes?
When can we take it out? Can we take it out for the night? Or is that
Oh, very good question. You guys are really grilling me over here. So frozen food. You have frozen food, because we talked about preparing from from Shabbat to Yom Tov, or preparing from one Yom Tov to the other one. So if you have frozen food, can you bring the frozen food out on Yom Tov, even though you want to use it for the next day? So it's best not to do that, and I'll tell you why. Because again, by the time you go through the Seder, you have enough time to cook a full meal. So even if it's frozen, you could put it out, you could put it in a pot, and by the time the thing's done, it's already perfectly hot. We've done that before. I know exactly what you're talking about. We've had that. Yes?
Is matzah from previous years considered chametz?
No, matzah from previous years is not chametz. If it's wrapped, it's closed, untouched, nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. Don't throw out your matzah. If it's closed, marked, no one touched it, no one opened it, why would it be chametz? It's matzah. Matzah is matzah.
What about if it's open?
If it was open and during the year they reached that, they don't use it. Yeah. Yes.
What's the reason behind needing to wash the cups every time?
What's the reason behind needing washing the cups? Well, from every time we drink wine, because it's a wine of bracha, we need to make sure that it's a clean cup that doesn't have residue and stuff like that. That's one of the reasons. That's the main reason we wash these cups. Now, many Persians still have the minhag of having this big pot with water in it.
You throw it in your neighbors, yeah, we know.
Okay. So you have this pot of water, and everybody just puts their cups in there, and no one thinks for 1 second everybody's mouth is in. I don't know why. We never thought about it. We always did it. We still do it. And it comes to everything else. Like ew. When it comes to Pesach, it's like put your cup in here. I put my mouth in it. I put my finger in it. Put it here, and it's good. So we have this pot of water, and everybody puts their cup, washes it out, puts it out. Now, the real water that's actually in our custom that says it's not good, it might be chas v'shalom, dangerous, is the wine or the grape juice from the second time you fill your cup, which is during the Haggadah. You don't drink that one. That one, when you fill it, you get to the 10 plagues, and you go dam, tzfardeya, kinim, it was all the plagues. So Chachamim say, be careful with that wine that you've spilled over, because that has all the plagues and chas v'shalom things. Make sure that doesn't get all over the place. So when that wine is diluted and it's mixed up with the cup, and you put it back into that washing thing, it goes in there. So I haven't found this really. I found it one time, one place, that people do use that water to get rid of unwanted things. You don't understand. Like the year I remember when I was in high school, we had friends, family members that we saw. Like the next day after Pesach, we'd be walking by the apartment buildings, like there was literally stains behind people's doors and no one knew what it was. And we're like, they poured the water here last night. We're like, oh, look at that, somebody. Huh? Yeah, we just pour it out. Just pour it down the sink or the toilet or bathroom. Yeah.
It's just a joke, man.
It's a joke.
My question
Yes.
was, let's say you made enough korma sabzi for both nights. Is it okay to have like one pot for Saturday night and one for Sunday night?
If you have enough orma sabzi or any kind of food, whatever food it is.
Because I don't want it to be called leftover.
No, why would it be a problem? Why would it be a problem of having the same food for both nights? No, it's not a problem at all.
You made like a big pot.
You made it, you worked very, very hard. بخورن هیچی هم نگن. دستتون درد نکنه. Finish.
Thank you.
I know where that comes from. No. Any questions? Yeah.
Sorry.
No. I left this time for questions.
I was just saying, we got a new induction stove and oven.
I have no idea what that means.
Me either.
All right. Great.
Anybody know?
What is an induction stove and an oven?
Induction is electric, meaning that it has a smart thermostat, and then whenever it feels that it needs to go up by itself, it goes up, and it feels it doesn't need to go up, it comes down. So it kind of like automatically goes up and down based on the cooking needs by itself. You could also do it manually, but induction meaning the elements is not solid red or solid black. It's just going up.
It does it by itself?
It works with only like magnetic pots. It doesn't work with like
regular pots.
Anyways, but I was reading the manual because I don't know how to work with it. It had Shabbat mode. But I didn't because it's new.
Right, I was going to mention that, yeah. So you would have to put it on that mode for the Yom Tov and Shabbat.
When you put it on Shabbat mode, it works as a bell, basically.
It stays exactly.
Temperature doesn't go off.
And the Shabbat mode is, I think, but the one I read was for the oven.
The oven also, meaning when you open the door of the oven, there's no lights and the temperature doesn't change, the thermostat doesn't work. Yes. I have to do enough research to be able to answer all the questions on that. Yeah, we just use the tick ones. I can't believe we went back to that. It was good.
That's hilarious.
Yes, Josh.
Rabbi, I remember there was something about like you boil an egg and you put it in the fridge and then it's for basically bridging between Shabbat and Yom Tov.
Okay, that's Eruv Tafshilin. That's when you go from Yom Tov to Shabbat. It's the other way around. Here, no, we don't have Eruv Tafshilin this year. I left this time for questions. So any questions you have for Pesach, this is the time. That's what I left the time for. Don't worry about cleaning, whatever questions you have.
All the beans are fine for...
Sorry, let me Oh, Nirtza. Okay. You're right. Did I miss Nirtza? I did miss. I missed Nirtza. Nirtza is a Kabbalistic ending of the Haggadah. Yirtza Hashem pa'olo v'tehi muskarto shelema me'im Hashem. So there's a lot of Kabbalistic stuff that is written in these songs at the end of the Haggadah, and it's much suggested that everybody do it whether you understand it or not. Do it. Chad Gadya, you should read it with your family, and also everybody should do it. And I know it's tiring, and I know it's like the last. Literally, everyone's just already either lying down, passing it. Last of at the end of the Haggadah. It's called Nirtza. Go to the Haggadah part, and I will show you. Tzafun Barech Haler. This is Nirtza. It's just Piyutim. There's songs. There's. Sorry, you were asking something.
All the beans are okay for Sephardim?
Beans, most Sephardim don't have a problem with kidniot. We eat beans on Pesach, and again, depending on what your minhag is, different. Some Sephardim have a minhag of different beans. My family, we eat all kind. My family, the only thing we don't eat on Pesach is chametz. Simple, done. And that's basically wheat and all the 7 grains. Other than that, everything else, beans, garbanzo beans, hummus beans, they're all fine. They're not chametz whatsoever. Even those that don't eat it, it's not chametz, it's their minhag not to eat it. It doesn't make it chametz.
There's a Facebook group where people post their questions and the rabbi says, the Sephardic and the Ashkenazis may and Sephardic may not. I find it very challenging to understand, is this really real to do what the rabbi is indicating, that almost everything that gets presented becomes okay for Sephardim to have, even without hashgacha,
without any. So you're saying there's a group chat on Facebook for those listening. There's a rabbi answering questions, and there's many things that Sephardim are allowed to have, allowed to eat, meaning on Passover, many things that Ashkenazim. Listen, I can't vouch for the rabbi. I don't know what groups they are, but I can tell you, there are a lot of things that Sephardim are allowed to have on Pesach that Ashkenazim aren't. And that's because of their minhagim. They have customs that, because of the exile and their being in Europe and stuff, they have many customs for Pesach that we do not have. And those are customs of stringency. They're not halachic customs. For them, it's halacha. They can't move around it. But for us, we don't have those stringencies. We can have rice, we can have beans, we can have all these different things on Pesach, which they call kitniot. They can't. And they can't change that minhag. That's their halacha, that's their Torah, it's fine. So for us, it's fine.
Can we eat hummus?
Again, it comes with your minhag. In our family, we do. Most Sephardim eat hummus. So some people say they don't have hummus because it sounds like chametz. But if you can spell and you could pronounce, it doesn't sound the same, and it's not spelled the same either. Right? So chametz is chet mem tzadi sofi. Hummus is chet mem vav samech, or the other way around. But any other questions? No more questions? Yes. Yes, you had a question. One second.
I like to do the song at the beginning.
Yeah. That's what we also do.
Everybody attacks them like, no, first you have to say we then do it.
No, okay, here we go. So we first, in my family as well, and in all the families that I know of, we always do a song before we go into Kiddush, and we actually have everyone do it one at a time. We don't do it all together. We go around the table, they hold the matzah in their hand, Kadesh, Urchatz, Karpas, Yachatz, Maggid, Rochza, the whole plate of matzah. And we go around. Everybody does it. And then you make Kiddush. That's the proper way of doing it. And you should do it. Kol hakavod. Continue doing it. It's good. Let the man do his thing.
Dairy that they say you can buy beforehand.
Dairy. Every place is different. There's no umbrella rule of you can have dairy if you buy it beforehand. There's no such umbrella rule. Every year has its own lists. Every year has its own companies you can buy from. There are lists out there that you can get. Yes?
That's what they read the flag.
So you mean in the Haggadah when we cover it? That's, again, covering and uncovering the Seder plate. All of it is done in order to arouse the kids to ask questions. Why did you just cover it? Why are you taking it away? Why are you bringing it back to the table? Why are we doing this? It's just to give the kids to do things and to arouse their curiosity as to why we do certain things, different things. So one time we cover it because we're doing the plagues, right? One time we do it because we're talking about the sadness. So different reasons for each one. You have to see where you are holding in the Haggadah. Yes?
If something is considered decorational but it's made from food and it's chametz, is it still chametz?
If it's something that's decorational and it's made from food and it's chametz, you should not have it on Pesach. No, you should not have it.
No, you can't. Do you need to still take it away and put it away with the rest?
Yes, you would need to put it away with the rest of the chametz and sell it. Yeah. Yes. If it's still, especially if it's still edible. Is it edible?
No, it's just decorational, but it was made from food.
What is it made? What is it?
Like let's say chocolate roses or stuff like that.
Chocolate what?
Chocolate roses or I don't know, just decorational things.
I would get rid of them or sell them or whatever if it's food. Still food product. Any other questions? Yes.
Is it a minhag that a lot of people keep like a piece of the afikoman until next year, and if so, what's the reason? That's my first question.
What do we do with
I don't know about that minhag. Keeping the afikoman for next year, I don't know.
Okay. And then my second question is: are you allowed to have other food on the table during like the Seder itself?
Sure, you could have all kinds of food at the table during the Seder time. No problem. I'm having other food on the table.
It's not a problem to like eat in between, like.
Eating in between is not the same as having the food on the table. Eating in between, as long as you haven't made hamotzi yet, only drinking if you need to drink in the middle of Haggadah and stuff like that just to get throat. Yes, but eating, you shouldn't be eating yet.
So when you said the rabbi said to keep like candy on the table for the kids.
That's for the little kids. That's for the little kids. For the adults, you can drink, but you shouldn't eat until after hamotzi and the going by the Haggadah.
Now, deli.
Deli, yeah.
It is supposed to be kosher for Passover.
Everything should be kosher for Passover, yes.
Let's say, because usually like Ralph and Papavilions and to those things, they have kosher, but they don't have kosher for Passover. Can you still get it?
No. If it's not kasher lePesach, you should not get it. Especially for Pesach. When it comes to kashrut of Pesach, it's more strict than the kashrut of regular year. Don't mess around with, I'm going to get the regular one. It's the same thing. It's not. Believe me, a lot goes into making products. There's a lot that we don't know. Unless you have a list that says, this product from this place is kasher lePesach, even without an OUP, then you're okay. If you don't have a list like that, if it's not on the list, don't get it. There are certain things, I don't know.
What about salt? I always have salt or pepper.
A regular salt.
Kosher
one.
I usually always change it, and last year
I think it was.
making fun of me. Why are you doing that?
No, there is. I think it's the salt that does have iodide. I don't want to misquote, especially if it's on video. But I think it's that one that's. If it's just pure salt, it's kasher lePesach. It's fine. Sugar, pure sugar it's fine also. Again, this video is going to be used for other years. I don't want to say things that might change in different years. Every year has its own lists. I can show you what list to look at, and you can see what you can buy in each year.
Do you mind sharing the list of
Sure. Okay, if there's any more. Wait 1 second. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen v'amen. Let me just turn this off.